Martin just could not get it stopped though.
Yeah, he's just got to be patient here, Martin. Clearly he's got the superior speed over Johann Zarco. Just got to bide his time here, charging there to turn 10. Easy to say from our position, isn't it, just to operating at the patient game, but we're on board then now with Alex Marquez, who was roughed up, wasn't he, by Zarco at turn 5 on this lap. It's dropped Alex down to 5th place. He's trying to recover those lost places in the slipstream again. Look at this, what a time to ride on board with Alex as they went through the gearbox at almost 350 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, Martin's busy attacking rather than defending. He takes Zarco then for that 3rd place. That's why Alex couldn't make his way through, because the Aprilia is so fast in a straight line. Ralph Fernandez though took 3/10 out of Acosta. Once he'd won that battle into turn 1 with Alex Marquez, Fernandez just took a 3/10 bite out of Acosta's lead.
These riders already protecting those tyres. The fastest lap of the Grand Prix so far, well, Ralph Fernandez just at a PB lap as Alex goes through on Johann Zarco. He runs wide and Zarco will just keep the inside line. He'll hug that red and white paint on the inside of 4. Alex though now down the hill into turn 5, trying to deal with the pesky Frenchman here right now. Alex then does get back through at turn 5. We're about a second off the pace of the best sprint lap yesterday, which was a 1:39.209 on the 2nd lap by Alex Marquez. So yeah, early on already the front runners are a second away from the best sprint early pace.
Yeah, is Pedro Acosta just running a pace that he's happy with at this stage? We heard Paul Travatta to Jack saying that if we do our own race, we feel we've got a major chance. So is Pedro Acosta not really concerned with the fact that his lead is coming down, because he knows what kind of pace he can do and what kind of pace will get his tyre to the end of the race. Ralph Fernandez at this stage clearly does fancy joining his fellow Spaniard at the front of the field and potentially taking the lead from it.
Yeah, yesterday Ralph Fernandez was expecting to manage the rear tyre and have a drop off with the rear, but it was actually the front that denied him a chance late on to fight for the podium. Just couldn't get the Trackhouse Aprilia stopped or turned to keep on par with Fabio Di Gianantonio late on. And we know the KTM's not slow. It did 363.3 kilometers an hour down this start-finish straight. We're coming from a long way back. Here's Ralph Fernandez. Oh yeah, Acosta just saw him in time to react. So Ralph Fernandez then has decided to pick up the baton here. He goes through on Acosta down in the braking zone for the first corner. Trackhouse Aprilia lead once again.
And a 1:39.9 on that last lap for Ralph Fernandez, fastest lap of the Grand Prix, which has brought him right onto the rear tyre of Acosta. Behind us, we saw that move also for Marquez. He passed Martin, so the 73 back ahead of the in-play World Championship leader, Jorge Martin. They're now 3rd and 4th.
We know that Ralph Fernandez is a bit vulnerable right now in that Trackhouse Aprilia squad. There's a few names being mentioned, interested and hungry for his seat in 2027, so he's in shop window time. He's trying to show whoever will be the new team manager at Trackhouse in 2027. I'm still your man, I'm still the rider you need on an RSGP next season. Only the 2nd time in his MotoGP career he's actually led. Of course, the last time he did it, Philippine in Australia, he went on to win.
Someone who's got a problem here is Marco Bezzecchi, the championship leader once this race began. He's stuck behind Frankie Morbidelli at the top of the picture in 8th place, and there's a big gap that's now opened up between the 2 VR46 Ducatis. Did you 6th on the back of this 4-rider group that are fighting for the final podium position. Morbidelli can't go with it, and he's backing up Bezzecchi in 8th place.
An 8th place, which would actually equal his best ever MotoGP result around this Catalunya circuit. Can't believe you're saying that, can you, about Marco Bezzecchi, who just is having a bit of a torrid weekend. It's been so good the start of 2026. Those 5 successive top 2s. Big ask to get for him to get anywhere near that.
More places. He's now 11. He's dropped 3 further places. He's made a mistake somewhere on this 5th lap, because he's now behind Mir, Marini and Fermin Aldeguer. It just got even worse for Bezzecchi.
Well, even with the pass on Acosta into the first corner on that last lap, Fernandez still found the best lap of the Grand Prix so far. He's rapid at the front at the moment. Crucially, how much is he taking out of those Michelin tyres underneath him? Fernandez a 1:39.852, one of only 2 riders in the 39s, the other being Alex Marquez.
So this was where Bezzecchi went straight wide, nearly ran into the back of his fellow Italian Morbidelli. I'm afraid it's got worse, Bezzecchi fans too, as he's now been passed by Pecco Bagnaia too. Bezzecchi got some sort of problem, because he's now a 2nd behind even Bagnaia, and then the pressure from Bastianini and Agura now.
Yeah, it's been an awful weekend as far as Bez is concerned, and as it stands right now, as you can see, he's going to lose the Motogp World Championship lead. He will be 7 points behind Jorge Martin going to home soil in Mugello at the end of May. Could get even worse with Jorge Martin right in the heart of this podium battle as well. On board with Acosta, up to about 280 kilometres an hour, fourth gear before they drop back down a couple of gears into this tight left-hander, turn 10. Fernandez, having got to the front, just straight away dipped into those 139s. Of course, we're going to be looking at the lap time and just how they change from the early part of this Grand Prix into those crucial final laps, just to see who has been able to nurse the rubber best.
Might not be the worst thing, this, for Pedro Acosta. I'll just sit behind you, Raul. You keep doing 139s. You keep stressing your tyres out at the front of the Grand Prix, and I'll just try and save a little bit behind you in second place. Acosta did his personal best last time on a 40.1. Is he prepared to sit there, or is he wanting to take the high ground back again? He wants the lead back again. This time it's Fernandez who has to jump out of his way.
Yeah, because he's obviously wary as well with the air behind Fernandez. He's going to be having issues maybe with his front tyre temperature and his front tyre pressure raising pretty rapidly. I wonder whether that's also a factor at play here as far as Acosta goes. Through we go then into turn 4. How's Alex Marquez getting on as he tries to fight back up, drop down to 5th or 6th, didn't he, after Zarco's aggression? Yeah, and Alex is looking quick, he's looking strong. That's now successive laps. The only rider in this Grand Prix so far to pick off back-to-back 139s. Alex Marquez 1.1 seconds behind Fernandez.
So clearly, we saw that mistake for Bezzecchi to turn 10. There was clearly another one on the lap that was just completed. He did a 142.2, which is why he's now over a second behind Bagnaia. So Bezzecchi at the moment in 12th place, and he ain't exactly looking forwards from 12th either. He's got Bastianini and Agura, who we know get stronger and stronger the later the race goes on, who are now right behind him. So any points that Bezzecchi can get out of this Catalan Grand Prix now, I guess will count as an achievement, because once again, as we've seen so often here in Barcelona, Marco is struggling.
Yeah, Le Mans last year when he was 14th in the French Grand Prix, the last time we saw Bezzecchi anywhere near this kind of lowly position in a Grand Prix. Almost feel like he's already operating in damage limitation mode at the moment, just to try and pick up a scant few points at the back of the top 15 he can. Just forget about this weekend, move on and try and regroup in Mugello in a couple of weeks' time. It is then still Ralph Fernandez just keeping Acosta at bay. They're back in the 140.3s. Still a lot faster behind them are Alex Marquez and Jorge Martin. Fair play as well to Joan Zarco. He's doing a sensational job as he gets picked off, unfortunately, by Fabio the Gian Antonio, though. With Joan Zarco to be anywhere near this podium battle at this early stage just shows that he is riding out of his skin at the moment.
Stunning ride, and there are some 2 seconds of empty time up behind Zarco now, so he's in a fairly safe 6th place, back to Frankie Morbidelli, who's leading that train involving the 2 factory Hondas. We now look for the overhead shot. Soon that helicopter shot will have 3 bikes in it, with Alex Marquez closing in. There he is on the 73s, now within a second of the lead. Yeah,
the younger Marquez sibling starting to look very, very menacing here, isn't he? Without any question, he is closing down Fernandez and Acosta at a pretty rapid rate ahead of him through the left-hander 7 and 8 this particular section. This is where we had the big contact early on with Martin and Alex Marquez. Bit of a head shake there on the gas as Acosta went careering towards turn 9.
Mr. Acosta be thinking here, knowing that Alex Marquez is closing in on him, and of course Alex Marquez beat him to the sprint victory yesterday. Martin's doing pretty good lap times too in 4th place, 40.1 for him. He's also faster than the leading pair. Keep an eye on Martin, he's not out of this yet. He's just under a second behind Alex Marquez, who of course could hand further punishment to his teammate Marco Bezzecchi.
Iagua's cracking charge through from 18th to 8th in the sprint yesterday has not been replicated. The Japanese rider on the podium for the first time last weekend in Le Mans is down in 14th place. Nothing at all we've seen from Enea Bastianini, 3rd in the Grand Prix here last September. He's been nowhere really as a front-running force this weekend. Acosta in the slipstream. We know how fast the KTM is in the start-finish straight, and Acosta is back at the front. Nothing that Fernandez can do about that at all. So as we start lap 8 of 24, it is Pedro, lap 9 rather, it's Acosta that's back at the front.
I'm very interested to see if Acosta puts a bit of a spurt on now with Fernandez between himself and Alex Marquez. Is this an opportunity for Acosta just to build a little bit of a gap ahead of the rider who I think we think is going to be his likeliest threat here, the rider in 3rd place, Alex Marquez? Key phase of the race this now potentially for Acosta.
Just feel that Zarco's pace is just tapering off ever so slightly. A 140.8 on the last lap from Zarco, a lap that he lost 5th place to Fabio de Gian Antonio. Antonio. That was 4/10 slower than Didier, 4/10 slower than Martin, 8/10 slower than Alex Marquez. To be fair to Zarco, Alex Marquez is quicker than anybody at the moment around this Barcelona circuit, so Zarco potentially, soon if he's not careful, will be dropping back into the 41s. He's still over 2 seconds clear though of Morbidelli.
Yeah, pace already dropping into the mid-40s for the race leaders on that last lap, which I think is another reason why Acosta wants to get past Ralph Fernandez, because his pace already starting to drop off a little bit. Martin and Gian Antonio, they exchange 40.4s. They're just in the back of the picture, 4th and 5th, with Zarco hanging on in 6th. Morbidelli's now leading a train that goes all the way back to Agura in 14th place. 7th back to 14th. And Bezzecchi, weirdly now, is back in the mid-140s again, doing similar pace to the leaders.
So KTM, Aprilia, Ducati at the moment is your top 3. What a shot that is on board with Alex Marquez. Ralph Fernandez almost scraping his elbow on the tarmac through that third gear turn 14, and Fernandez, well, he got blasted by Pedro Acosta on this long one down to the first corner. This time around there's nothing you can do about Alex Marquez. Alex had the rear wheel hopping in the air though, didn't he, as he braked into the first corner. He's done awesome there actually to make sure he hits the apex there. So Alex Marquez then up into 2nd place. Trouble brewing here for Acosta.
Yeah, crucially just keeping tabs with Ralph Fernandez, with Acosta ahead. Yellow flags have come out, and it's Enea Bastianini's name who is tumbling down the order somewhere in the first sector. Perhaps a turn 2 crash, but either way, wherever he's gone down, looks like it's the end of Enea Bastianini's day, and he will not be replicating his podium of a year ago.
Yeah, he was having a bit of a mare, wasn't he, the beast? No question about it. At the front then it's Acosta, about what, half dozen bike lengths, maybe a little bit more, back to Alex Marquez in 2nd place. These two know each other's strengths and weaknesses here in Catalunya. They went toe-to-toe, didn't they, in the sprint yesterday, the closest ever sprint finish we've had since that new era started back in 2023. All anxious faces, pensive faces looking on inside the factory KTM garage. You can see Pit Barrow there, KTM Motorsport Director. They want this long barren run to come to an end.
Our information on our timing screens actually is that it's a technical issue that has stopped Bastianini, so we'll beg his pardon on that one. There he is at the side of the racetrack. He is down at turn 1, but it would appear that the KTM has broken down on him.
Well, it was a technical problem yesterday for his Tech 3 teammate Maverick Vinales, which ruled Top Gunner out of the sprint, so more technical woes coming the way of Gunther Steiner's French-based squad. And really sort of built on the good news of their extension to a contract with KTM 2027 and beyond. Acosta then a 140.4, Alex Marquez a 140.3, Ralph Fernandez in the high 140s now. Zarco 140.7. He's not letting Martin and Gian Antonio relax ahead of him in that battle for 4th place.
Yeah, there's a real podium opportunity here for Martin if he can continue this, because he took 4/10 out of Fernandez, whose pace is now starting to head towards the high 140s. That'll be concerning the Trackhouse team, given how sharp his lap times have dropped off. Because remember, he was doing high 39s, 3 or 4 laps ago. He's now a second a lap slower than that, as Acosta a little bit wide through turn number 4. And Alex Marquez is trying to deal out the same dose that he dished out to Acosta yesterday.
Bezzecchi, after his early woes, still stuck in 12th place. That's 1 position ahead of Agura. There was 1 position split those two last weekend in Le Mans. A very different story at the Bugatti circuit when they were 2nd and 3rd over the line. They're nowhere in contention for a repeat of that here this afternoon. Jorge Martin, though, certainly not out of another podium battle here in Barcelona. Fabio Quartararo, he's in 14th place. Quartararo has actually just slipped into the 141, so the Yamaha, who do tend to suffer anyway with a lack of rear grip, that will just be exaggerated by the no grip here in Barcelona. So Quartararo still, though, leading the Yamaha charging 14.
Yeah, 6 riders still very much in this. It's now starting to close up to be a genuine 6-rider group at the front of the race. Agura has just passed Marco Bezzecchi somewhere on this lap, so Bezzecchi now down to 13th place. Put the flag out now. Martin scoring 13 points, Bezzecchi only 3.
One big weapon that Martin's had is his end of race pace. Great management of tyres. Alex Marquez has been using all of that 300 horsepower to good use on that Ducati GP26. We saw this in the sprint yesterday as Alex Marquez, well, they did rub knees, didn't they, in that braking zone for the first corner. Acosta just about clinging hanging on here, just about hanging on to the leaders. They power now through the tie-shredding turn 3.
Acosta putting a major squeeze on Alex Marquez there, saying, if you want to take this lead from me, you're going to have to prise it from my fingers. We know how much Pedro Acosta wants a MotoGP victory. We know how hard he's pushed for it. We know how close he's been. So Alex Marquez is going to have to really fight hard for this.
Yesterday in the sprint, Acosta's KTM stopped better. Alex Marquez's Ducati turned better. Two different strengths at play in the sprint yesterday. Here is Acosta there. He'll just be going all in here, won't he? Tooth and nail for that first Grand Prix victory. Out of 8 he goes, bit of a wheelie there as he was on the power through the fast right-hander of turn 9, making sure that you ease the power on. You don't want to leave yourself susceptible to a pass from... Acosta got a problem.
Alex Marquez, jump off it.
Oh, dearie me. Acosta had a problem.
That's going to be a red flag.
This is a red flag. This is a red flag. Something happened to Pedro Acosta's KTM. It cut out. Pedro Acosta had a major technical issue there on the factory KTM.
By debris as well. He's
factory
in pain.
KTM behind him with nowhere to go. Alex Marquez had no room whatsoever to take any kind of avoiding or evasive action. Drama here then. Of course, first and foremost, our hopes are with Alex Marquez. That was a sickening incident there. I mean, you're close to 250 kilometres an hour. Acosta's KTM has just completely gone kaput. Instant on the run down to turn 10. Poor old Alex Marquez. There was nowhere for Alex to go. These riders have lightning reflexes.
He's half a tenth behind him.
Yeah, nowhere to go.
Absolutely no chance to react to that. Debris then flew onto the racetrack, which took down Gian Antonio, and I'm certain that some debris hit Ralph Fernandez too, because he looked in some serious pain on board his Aprilia.
The contact has deflated Acosta's rear tyre. To be fair to Pedro Acosta, the split second he realised he had an issue, he put his arm up, but Alex Marquez was so close to his rear tyre, he just had no time at all to react. He would have tried to avoid the action, but nothing that Alex could do. So this MotoGP race here in Barcelona has been red flagged.
So I think we'll have lost 4 of the top 5 riders in this race. We'll get a restart, but I doubt we're going to see Pedro Acosta in it, because they won't be able to repair that bike. Alex Marquez, of course, out of the Grand Prix. Not so sure we'll see Didier either, and Ralph Fernandez was definitely in pain. Of course, we hope that all the riders that have been involved in that are okay. An update from Ralph Fernandez. What's up with Ralph Fernandez? How much pain is he in, Jack?
Yeah, he's in so much pain. 3 of the team personnel had to help him off of the bike. It looks like he went straight to the right collarbone. He's in a lot of pain as well, Fernandez, so I imagine it's going to be very difficult to see him in a restart here.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jack, for the update on Ralph. And you could see there as well, trackside at the instant, further down, a lot further past the initial contact with Alex Marquez and Pedro Acosta was Fabio Di Gianantonio.
Yeah, I think he got hit by potentially a wheel or a fork or something, then came bouncing back onto the racetrack as Alex Marquez was bouncing down the right-hand side, and that just came straight into Di Gianantonio's front tyre and sent him down the road. There is debris everywhere, and of course a rider that needs to be treated at the side of the racetrack down there at turn 10. As you saw on screens there, 3/4 distance has not been completed. We were on lap 13 of 24 when the race was stopped, so we will get a restart to this Grand Prix, and there'll be the positions at the end of the last complete lap. Of course, that only includes the riders who are fit and have fit motorcycles to take the restart.
Let's go quickly down to Jack for a Pedro Acosta update. Jack?
Yes, second bike is being ready for Pedro Acosta. Akiayo's just gone over to his rider to check with him. Helmet off, gloves off for Acosta, and he looks okay. Doesn't look like he's picked up any injuries in that huge collision, and that second bike is ready to go for the number 37.
Yeah, thanks very much, Jack. Of course, right now our main considerations, all of our thoughts and well wishes go to Alex Marquez, winner of the closest sprint in history yesterday. As you would expect, some very concerned faces down in the BK8 Gresini Racing squad. There is Danny Aldridge in the blue shirts, MotoGP technical director, talking to Sebastian Risa, KTM tech boss. Well, that's the best possible news. Alex Marquez, this is direct from the medical director, Dr. Angel Chartra. Alex, despite that real nasty collision with Pedro Acosta, he is reported conscious at trackside. He was immediately attended to by the best medical team in the world. I can hear, I think the fans are just see on the big screens the message about Alex, and that's the reason why they are applauding.
And the worst point of the racetrack, this is Fabio Di Giannantonio trying to rush back. You need to try and get your bike back within 5 minutes of the red flag to be able to take the restart. If he doesn't, Di Giannantonio is going to be out of this race. Of course, when something like that happens on a straight, of course the straight is lined, particularly on that right hand side. There's a concrete wall to the right hand side because that straight is backing on to sort of the back of the paddock around this circuit, so not a lot of room there. So the worst possible moment for something like that to happen. This is what it looked like. Let's listen to Pedro Acosta's KTM.
Genuinely terrifying. A real super scary incident here. We're on board with Acosta.
It was just a momentary reaction, wasn't it? Alex Marquez immediately went right to try and move, otherwise he'd gone straight up the back of that KTM. They could see the debris scattered all over the racetrack, which also brought down Di Giannantonio.
You're coming through that turn 9, already third gear, 130 kilometres an hour, and then about halfway down that short straight before you hit the brakes hard for turn 10, your fourth gear, just shy of 280 kilometres an hour. Acosta had not got to that point. What was striking there from the onboard, the first thought that Pedro Acosta had, you saw him there, looked to his right, he'd have just seen a Gresini Ducati, a blue blur, debris everywhere, and of course he'd have been thinking, Alex Marquez, just hope that Alex is okay. Ongoing discussions there then down with Red Bull KTM management, Paul Trevathan, Acosta's crew chief, speaking once again to MotoGP technical director Danny Aldridge. That was...
Yeah, they want a good understanding there, won't they, of what happened to Acosta's KTM. And ultimately, you know, there are going to be riders who are going to be heading into this restart and in a little bit of pain. Of course, we hope Ralph Fernandez is going to be able to take the restart. Feels unlikely at the moment. Of course, there's going to be a bit of a clean-up operation on this back street. You can just see the ambulance there, just down there by turn 10 to give Alex Marquez the very latest care. We saw the damage to Di Giannantonio. What about the rider? Is he fit to restart, Jack?
Well, as he got off the bike, he was holding that left arm pretty loose, pretty down low. He's gone straight out the back of the box, I imagine into his office, potentially to the medical centre for a check. The officials down here have just confirmed to the team that Fabio is eligible for the restarts, but first and foremost, they need to check his body over because he didn't look 100% when he got off the bike.
Yeah, so there are several riders who we are obviously aware that all riders involved in the incident are conscious, as we do get the ongoing treatment and assessment of Alex Marquez. Pedro Acosta would be devastated to have played a part in that incident. Well, nothing he could do at all. The engine, the KTM was still running. It just was nowhere near full power, wasn't it? It was just like the engine just died, didn't it? It just cut out almost. Nothing that Acosta could do, unfortunately. Nothing that Alex Marquez could do as well, despite, as we saw there, Alex did his level best to try and veer to the right, but he was just too close. I mean, first and foremost, in Alex's mind at that point is, well, am I close enough to attack Acosta and make the move, make the pass him going on the brakes into turn 10? The last thing any of us would have expected would have been for the rider directly headed in to encounter what was clearly some kind of significant major malfunction on Acosta's RC16.
In terms of an order for the restart when we get it, the standings on our screens, which of course taken Alex Marquez out of it because he wasn't running when the race was stopped. All riders, as you can see there on screens, eligible for the restart except Bastianini, who retired shortly before the stoppage, and Alex Marquez, who of course crashed, having run into the back of Acosta's breaking down KTM. So the grid, as we understand it, because the standings on our tiny screens would be Acosta, Ralph Fernandez and Martin would be the front row. Then it would be Di Giannantonio, Zarco and Morbidelli, Mir, Aldeguer and Marini on the third row. Then it would be Bagnaia, Agura and Bezzecchi, Quattararo, Moreira, Vinales, Miller, Rins, Toprak, Augusto Fernandez. And the one rider who might be rescued a little bit to a certain extent by this is Brad Binder, who of course was way down the back of the field. He will enjoy the opportunity of a restart, although of course he will not enjoy that it's come in these circumstances.
There is Jorge Martin, his factory Aprilia crew readying themselves for the restart. It will be a new race distance of 13 laps. Just as soon as we've got any information on when we will be restarted, well, that's all rather immaterial right now, isn't it? Of course, as we continue our thoughts with Alex Marquez. Jack, back down to you in pit lane with a further update.
Yeah, I'm just outside the KTM box, and as you guys have just mentioned, Enea Bastianini not eligible for this restart as a result of a technical problem. Now, my understanding is that that technical problem is something pretty similar to what we saw happen to Pedro Acosta. Some of the Tech Trois team have just come across to let the factory boys know, to say maybe need to investigate further. We saw Brad Binder's bike stall on the grid as well. We don't know of any new updates that KTM have brought, but there is potentially concern of some kind of reliability issue given what we've seen over the past couple of hours here at Barcelona.
Yeah, a very valid point. Thanks very much, Jack. Race to be restarted for 13 laps. That was just a terrifying onboard shot there, wasn't it? I mean, Fabio Di Gianantonio basically just ran into a tyre that was flying through the air. It's been a long time since we've seen a MotoGP bike disintegrate to the extent that Alex Marquez's did there. I mean, it was just a nightmare. So as you can understand why Danny Aldridge has gone down to KTM, as Jack's point was brilliantly made. Brad Binder had a start and an issue on the line. A technical issue also ruled out Enea Bastianini, and another technical issue has also involved Pedro Acosta. So quite rightly, MotoGP technical management are just making sure that the KTMs are going to be reliable enough for this restart. If there's any kind of similar issue that's come the way of Binder at the start, Bastianini when he was at the end of the straight, and the cutout there, or the sudden loss of power and momentum for Acosta out of turn 9.
You can see off to the left as you look, that's how little space Alex Marquez had to crash into there. Of course, you're not likely to put an awful lot of runoff up the side of a straight, because you wouldn't expect any sort of rider to crash in there. It just goes to show how safe these racetracks have to be, and just how safe all the safety equipment, both in terms of the motorcycles and the riders, has to be, because an accident can happen at any point in any circumstances. And unfortunately, it happened in this circumstance for Alex Marquez. Acosta knows now, doesn't he? Already, by the time his left hand has gone up, Alex Marquez is straight into the side of it, and at this stage, Alex Marquez is a passenger.
Just look at Ralph Fernandez. He's getting peppered by debris, peppered by carbon parts that have broken off Alex Marquez's Ducati GP26, and I can't even imagine, I can't even begin to think right now of what is going through the mind of Alex Marquez. All he can see there at over 200 kilometres an hour is the wall fast coming his way, and then of course as he goes on the gravel and the grass, then there's just nothing that Alex can do to maintain any semblance of control on that Gresini Ducati. KTM are readying Pedro Acosta's spare bike as the extensive cleanup operation then goes on at turn 10. As we mentioned, the new race distance will be 13 laps. No confirmation on the restarted time, but as mentioned as well, it's immaterial really. When our thoughts are with Alex Marquez, who is in the ambulance being returned now to the Circuit Medical Centre.
What essentially we will have when this Grand Prix gets underway is a bit of a second sprint, won't we? The sprint yesterday was 12 laps in this Grand Prix. So who this might play into the hands of is anybody in this field who still has a brand new soft rear tyre. If anybody does in this MotoGP field, if anybody has a brand new soft rear tyre available, surely they're going to be using that for this restart. The news that Fabio Di Gianantonio is back in the VR46 box gives us positivity, a nod to his team that he hopefully will take this restart.
Yeah, I think that was the I'm good to go, guys, I'm ready. That's what these MotoGP races do. They've got this incredible ability. This is unfortunately it's part of the game, isn't it? You get incidents like this. Thankfully they are few and far between, but it's the mental fortitude that they can block out these moments of adversity, and in a few moments time they'll be full gas, 360 kilometers an hour down the start finish straight once again. Of course they will be thinking about Alex Marquez, that serious incident. I mean, Fabio Di Gianantonio, what did he see? What could he do? Nothing really. I mean, he was getting absolutely peppered as well. by destroyed bodywork. I mean, Alex Marquez has destroyed Grazini Ducati, came bouncing back onto the circuit, didn't it? Let's go down there and get some word from Tech 3 KTM on what ruled out Enea Bastianini, if they do indeed know. Nico Goyon is with Jack.
Yeah, Nico, did Enea explain what happened?
Well, he had a technical issue. The bike basically stopped. We don't know. The bike just came back. We need to check on the data what happened.
Is there a concern it was a similar problem to what happened to Pedro?
I have no idea. We just saw Pedro lifting the hand. Once again, we need to check the data, and the bike just arrived right now, so we need to check. Sorry, I cannot tell you anymore.
Thanks, Nico.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Nico Goyon. Pedro Acosta did everything he could to try and warn the riders behind him. We saw, though, the moment that Alex Marquez impacted his rear tyre was right at the same moment that Pedro got his left arm up to try and warn those riders behind him that he had encountered a pretty serious issue. Costa is going to be eligible for the restart. The impact, I mean, how heavy was the impact? So his rear tyre completely deflated. That's how hefty it was.
Yeah, they're cranking up there on that back straight between 9 and 10, well, to the thick end of 300 kilometres an hour, you'd say, before they finally break for turn 10, halfway down the straight. As we await news on when this Grand Prix will get back underway, let's rejoin Jack.
Yeah, just to clear up what we've been saying, MotoGP officials have just gone in to chat with the KTM technical staff, and they have confirmed to them that they are 100% sure that the technical issue of Enea Bastianini and Pedro Acosta is unrelated. So as a result, they're more than happy for Pedro Acosta to take his place in the restart.
Good work as always down in pit lane, Jack. As Pedro Acosta then looks at the screens. I mean, he'll be shaken, he'll be rattled himself. Of course, nothing he could do, nothing whatsoever. Let's have a listen. We're on board with Alex Marquez. You have to really feel, don't you, for Alex Marquez. You have to feel for Pedro Acosta as well, for being the innocent cause of that incident. But as you could quite clearly see there, Alex was starting to accelerate. He'd gone through the third gear, right-hander of turn 9. He'd already gone up into fourth gear, and he was starting to motor towards about 280 kilometres an hour when he pretty much had a stationary factory KTM parked right in front of him. A thumbs up from Fabio Di Gianantonio. Of course, he was right in the thick of that podium battle. Just a little tap on the shoulder there for Digia.
Understandably, looks a little bit pale there, doesn't he, Fabio Gianantonio? I think I would do too if I'd seen what he'd seen, with bits of Ducati flying in his direction, and part of which, of course, took him down into turn 10. And as you say, this is what separates these riders from just normal human beings like us in terms of the mentality. They've got to now suddenly switch their mentality from concerned with what's happened to themselves, concerned with what's happened to Alex Marquez, to game face, focusing on a Grand Prix and 25 points in a race victory still to be fought for.
Like Glass said, those crashes, those kind of incidents are few and far between in the Motogp World Championship. Well, caught up in that incident. Of course, he was leading at one point in the first phase of that Catalan Grand Prix. His trackhouse of Aprilia, Ralph Fernandez. Let's get an update on the Spaniard with Davide Brivio.
Yeah, I'm pleased to say Raul now back in the box, but when he got off the bike, it was obvious he was in a lot of pain, Davide. So what's he explained to you?
Yeah, no, he got one piece of something on, is a hit, just a hit. So now we check a little bit of medication, and yeah, not fantastic, but it's okay. No, it's okay. And so
he's good to go for the restart.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Good news. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Davide Brivio, for coming to talk to Jack. So yeah, there is Pedro Acosta. Just to keep you updated, other than the fact that we know that the race distance will be 13 laps, so there's been no indication that as yet while the clean-up operation continues as to when we'll be back underway here in Barcelona. Just saying, thankfully these incidents few and far between. The last time I've seen debris to that extent, the MotoGP race, my mind goes straight back to that horrendous incident, completely different instance in Austria, the Red Bull Ring, with Maverick Vinales and Frankie Morbidelli, Johan Zarco were all cool. Zarco and Morbidelli, of course, tangled at high speed through that turn 2 kink, and then their bikes went flying through the air. Maverick Vinales and Valentino Rossi so fortunate on that occasion. It is, thankfully, a very, very rare occurrence.
There was one in MotoGP Moto2 that same day, wasn't there, with Hafiz Siren, where there were bits of bike and swing arms and all sorts and forks flying through the air, which riders had to duck under. I must say, it's always the danger when two bikes connect on a straight. There's clearly some work being done there on the...
Show you what I got. I run this thing. I'm in the league of my own. Every word I spit, the microphone. Let me show you what I got.
Now, simply in case you can see the panel there flashing off to the left as you look, the yellow and red striped panel, which indicates that there is something on the racetrack, potentially reduced grip coming up. Coming up to just past 20-3 local time here now in Barcelona, around about the point that the checkered flag would have been coming out in this Grand Prix. It was building up to a fantastic finale, wasn't it, with Pedro Acosta and Alex Marquez. They'd had a couple of moments where they'd gone side by side down the main straight. Of course, we are still in potentially for a great Grand Prix over 13 laps, but as I say, it's likely to resemble something much more like a MotoGP sprint now.
It is a tough and at times unforgiving game, MotoGP. Alex Marquez, he was delirious yesterday, having taken a sprint win here in front of his home crowd. He woke up this morning or went to bed last night dreaming of a first ever double. But unfortunately, after that real nasty incident, pre-red flag with Pedro Acosta, Alex will not be able to be part of this restarted Catalan Grand Prix. Let's hope that he's going to be okay. No serious injuries for Alex. That's going to see him have a prolonged absence in the MotoGP World Championship. There is part of the Gresini management. How long has Carlo Marini been part of Gresini? Well, pretty much from day one. An integral part of the Italian-based team. Of course, as everybody shares our thoughts and best wishes to Alex. Let's go back down to Jack in pit lane.
Yeah, pit lane will be open in 5 minutes time, 14:48 local time, and as you guys might be able to see at the top of your picture, 13 laps to go.
Thanks very much, Jack. So then we are hopefully going to be getting back underway here in Catalunya in about 5 minutes time. Of course, we had a red flag, didn't we? Alex Marquez has been transferred to hospital for further examination, some further checks. Let's hope these are just precautionary measures as far as the former Moto3 and Moto2 world champion is concerned. Pecco Bagnaia had his tough moments in Barcelona himself, hasn't he? That horrendous first corner incident involving him and Brad Binder a couple of years ago.
Quick restart procedure will be employed, which, if you've been watching us across all three classes of Grand Prix racing this season, you will be well aware of how it works, because we've seen it already on, I think, 3 occasions in Moto2 and once in Moto3. The riders will have 60 seconds. In 3.5 minutes time, the pit lane exit will go green. They've got to get themselves out of pit lane. They will have 60 seconds to get themselves out of pit lane and then back round to the grid. One mechanic from each of their particular teams will wait for them, just make sure that everything is A-OK, and then the warm-up lap will commence before a 13-lap Catalan Grand Prix, which Pedro Acosta will start from pole position from, ahead of Ralph Fernandez and Jorge Martin, to Gian Antonio Zarco and Morbidelli on the second row, ahead of Mir, Aldeguer and Marini. Bagnaia, Ogura, Bezzecchi is your 4th row. Then it's Quartararo, Moreira, Vinales. Miller, Rins, Toprak is the 6th row. And then Augusto Fernandez and this man Brad Binder, who was due to take the initial start from 8th but got wheeled off the grid seconds before the start. We're about to see it now. He will take the restart from 20th on the grid. And at what point is it here? Yeah, even before he stops, he already realises clearly he'd lost the bike, lost the engine, and had to get himself straight off the grid. Didn't even attempt to stop in his grid box.
Yeah, that's good work by Brad. He was not going to be involved in any kind of start delay, got himself straight off the grid. Well, the bike was cut out and it wasn't running, because clearly seconds later they got it fired up and he was able to start the Grand Prix from pit lane. So in just over a minute's time, or 14:48, a couple of minutes time. Incorrect graphic there. We'll be back underway. Well, Johan Zarco, another rider that seemed to take a bit of a whack from some of the flying debris in the red flag incident. Let's get an update from Jack on the Frenchman.
Yeah, you saw Johan icing the left foot after some contact with some debris, but Johan has just put the boot back on with a real grimace on his face. He's clearly in some discomfort, but the helmet going back on, the Frenchman will take part in the restart.
Thanks, Jack. He's one of several riders caught up in that incident that are going to be tackling this 13-lap restart in a bit of pain and a bit of discomfort. Ralph Fernandez and Fabio Di Gianantonio, also nothing that they could do. They're just trying to do their level best to avoid what was left of Alex Marquez's bike when it did bounce off the fence and started tumbling towards the middle of the circuit on the run down to turn 10. Here is then your revised grid, or it was.
There was it. Acosta, Fernandez and Martin definitely is the front row. That I can assure you. Now you can see it. And it will be very interesting, as mentioned, to see who, if anyone, has a soft rear tyre available, because that might be the pick for this restart, given the shortened distance. Di Gianantonio, Zarco and Morbidelli is the 2nd row. Mir, Aldeguer and Marini together on row 3. Luca Marini was due to take the original start. Well, he did, in 16th place, so he's up 7. Bagnaia 10th from Agura, and Marco Bezzecchi 12th, which is, of course, exactly where he started the original Grand Prix. Quartararo, Moreira and Vinales on the 5th row. Vinales, the sole remaining Tech 3. KTM running. Miller, Rins and Toprak next up, ahead of Augusto Fernandez and Brad Binder in 20th place. So 2 riders do not take the restart for differing reasons, but both very obvious. Enea Bastianini, who had already broken down, therefore is not eligible to take the restart because he was no longer running. And Alex Marquez, who is on his way to hospital, we sent him all our very best for further examinations after that collision with the stuttering KTM of Pedro Acosta, who was leading the race and will therefore be leading the grid. He will start from pole position. But this restart, pit lane is now open, and it will be open for another 50 seconds for the 20 riders that remain to take the restart of this Grand Prix. And as we say, it's a situation where the riders have got to try, as difficult as it is for all of us, to shut that incident out of their minds, particularly difficult for the likes of Acosta, who was, of course, the central figure to it with his KTM breaking down, but of course Di Gianantonio, Martin, Fernandez and Zarco, who were all in the wake of that incident, who've now got to try and focus on the task at hand and a 13-lap Grand Prix to come.
Second bite of the cherry then for 20 riders here in this restarted Catalan Grand Prix. Here's Davide Tardozzi, a factory Ducati boss, preparing to see Pecco Bagnaia line up at the head of row 4 in 10th place. There is Ralph Fernandez, who along with Zarco and Digia was caught up in the incident behind Pedro Acosta and Alex Marquez. Jorge Martin was certainly in podium and victory contention in that first part, wasn't he, as the lane is going to close very, very shortly. Right here it was, where we had all the drama, the horrible crash, the horrible incident and collision involving Acosta and Alex Marquez. Alex Marquez, just for the latest information, is being currently transferred to a nearby hospital where he'll undergo further examinations. Underneath the KTM banner there, the orange flag, is the damaged Pedro Acosta #1 factory KTM, the bike which Alex Marquez could not avoid hitting before the red flag drama. So a quick restart procedure implemented once again. as Lewis just explained. One mechanic, one member of team personnel is allowed onto the grid just to make sure that everything is in full working order. They'll get a thumbs up and nod from their rider. They will quickly depart the grid. There'll be a warm-up lap, and then we'll be racing in what is going to be a short 13-lap now Monster Energy Grand Prix of Catalunya.
Of course, all our thoughts are with Alex Marquez at the moment. We hope he is okay. But in terms of the Grand Prix that we now have ahead of us, real opportunity here for Jorge Martini, I have to say. From third on the grid, of course, both of the starts we've seen, the sprint yesterday and the Grand Prix already earlier on today, Jorge Martin was absolutely mustered off the line. He rocketed up the order. He was up as high as 4th or 5th by the time they even got to turn 1 at the start of the Grand Prix. So he, alongside Ralph Fernandez and Pedro Acosta, surely he's going to be thinking at this stage, we've got a great chance potentially to lead into turn 1 when this gets underway.
The Grand Prix really has become a sprint once again here now in Catalunya. Yesterday's sprint won by Alex Marquez. It was over 12 laps. We're only going 1 lap further now than in this restarted Grand Prix of Catalunya. Some riders are going to have their pain thresholds tested as well. Fabio, Gian Antonio, Johan Zarco and Ralph Fernandez, all of them unable to avoid some of the debris after the Acosta Marquez incident. Fernandez second on the grid, Costa going from pole. There's no problems for Johan Zarco, just trying to find a bit of clear traffic. Jack just informing us that this is a straight shootout in terms of rear tyres, and over the shortened format everybody has gone for the Michelin soft rear tyre. So effectively we're going to get sprint number 2, aren't we, here this weekend in Barcelona?
And everyone will have very good information on that soft rear tyre from that sprint yesterday. But Pedro Acosta will still, of course, have that opportunity, which is still being afforded to him after the collision, which he was certainly in the central figure 2, but having got himself back into pit lane, which was the crucial element of that, getting himself back into pit lane with some assistance from riders behind him, that left him eligible to take this restart. Of course, the one rider that really did push him yesterday is no longer on the grid. Alex Marquez will not take this restart. So is this, in the most extraordinary and unusual of circumstances, not the preferred circumstance of Pedro Acosta, is this now his big opportunity?
Yeah, he won a sprint earlier on this season. He felt like it was not a completely well-earned sprint victory after Marc Marquez had to drop 1 position late on. So for the second time of asking, we come under starters orders here in Barcelona. It's Jorge Martin who takes that 3rd place on the grid, with, unfortunately, Alex Marquez on his way to hospital. Once again, our best thoughts and well wishes that go to the number 73. But here we go then, take 2 in Catalunya. Lights out, and we're racing once again here in Motogp in Barcelona, and this time around it is Jorge Martin who makes another stunning start on the factory Aprilia. He drops in behind Pedro Acosta. Joan Mir's going away well, 2 on the number 36 of factory Honda. Mir's going to drop in the second place
into Marini and Bagnaia.
Oh, and Zarco's got tangled in the bike. Zarco got stuck in the rear tyre. This could be another red flag. This will be another red flag, surely. Johan Zarco, you could see he was stuck. His leg, one of his legs was trapped, it looked like. And as the bike barrel rode through the gravel trap, Johan Zarco, who was just along for the ride, nothing that he could do. Let's hope that Johan Zarco is going to be okay. Marini, red flag. Red flag once again. No choice but to stop this. No choice whatsoever. We've seen down the years so many nasty incidents on that long run down into the first corner here in Barcelona. One of the longest runs from the rider's starting position before they hit the brakes for the first time. Pecco Bagnaia has more turn 1 woes here in Catalunya. He's on his feet but holding his left wrist. But first and foremost, now, after our thoughts went to Alex Marquez, and now it is Johan Zarco, who clearly was caught and tangled up in one of those crash bikes.
He clearly had a poor start at Zarco to be running into the back of Luca Marini, who'd started 4 places behind him, and Bagnaia, who of course was way down the grid. Yes, we've got 3 more riders down. Of course, we pray and hope that Johan Zarco is a-okay. It looked like he just couldn't get the bike stopped. Of course, he was in the middle of a pack, and no doubt the slipstream effect up behind the likes of Luca Marini up ahead. Zarco just could not get that Honda stopped, and obviously nowhere to go except straight into the pack ahead.
more very concerned faces down in the whole pit lane. So for the second time here today in Barcelona, the Motogp race has been red flagged. The initial running over 24 scheduled laps red flagged after the incident involving Acosta and Alex Marquez, and now another red flag. This time around, Italians Pecco Bagnaia and Luca Marini involved, poor old Johan Zarco as well. Remember a nasty first corner incident back in 2006, Marco Melandri getting tangled up in a bike as well. Taki Nakagami a few years ago, when he lost control of his LCR Honda, his head made contact in it with the rear tyre of Pecco Bagnaia's Ducati on that occasion.
Bagnaia trying to get that bike back onto the racetrack. Of course, less than 3 laps completed, so we will go back to the original grid positions. Of course, those riders that are eligible to take the restart. Of course, it's often the case, isn't it? One red flag often breeds another. It just heightens the tension for everyone out there on the racetrack. Medical Director info, all riders are conscious. We can see 2 of them there, of course, Luca Marini and Pecco Bagnaia, who certainly, we saw Pecco holding his left arm a little bit, but otherwise he would appear to be okay, and his focus now is on getting himself back to the pitch. You already saw the factory Ducati team preparing his second bike, and Luca Marini, of course, on his Honda, he's also trying to plot the easiest way back to the pitch so he can take part in the restart.
So back in the Trackhouse Aprilia garage goes Ayagura. There is Marini. We've already seen Pecco Bagnaia making his way back to paddock on the back of a scooter. There is Marini. You can just see him in the middle of the picture. It's a great start by his fellow factory Honda rider Joan Mir around the outside. We're on board at the moment with the factory Aprilia World Championship leader Marco Bezzecchi. He's got Ralph Fernandez directly ahead of him, and unfortunately Johan Zarco, just in way too hot, makes contact with Marini's rear tyre. So it looks like Zarco actually got caught up and tangled with his own bike, and on the outside, wrong place, wrong time, it was Pecco Bagnaia who also got collected in that incident. Danny Aldridge then now the MotoGP technical director in a bit of a summit there. Davide Brivio was there, Gino Borsoi, Prima Pramac Yamaha team boss looking on, and obviously there was some big concern for the welfare of his rider Lucio Cecchinello, LCR Honda boss, rather anxiously looking at the screens after that real nasty incident involving Johan Zarco.
Yeah, as always, they will take their time with this. Of course, it's inconvenient for everybody to have long delays like this, but they are wholly necessary. They need to give the rider the very best possible care at whatever incident he's been in. It's the kind of thing which you do not rush. It takes as long as it needs to. When the rider is in some serious discomfort, of course, you don't want to move a rider if he's particularly injured, either his legs or potentially his arms or part of his neck. You need to make sure that he's in the best possible care. Ambulance just there in the long lap penalty lane. The medical car and the safety car are down there too. The new race distance, of course, having lost 1 lap now from the 13 that we were going to have, is now down to 12 laps when we do get underway for a third time. And of course, 12 laps was the sprint distance yesterday.
It's just rotten luck, just a set of circumstances which saw Johan Zarco get tangled up with his bike. As Luca Marini then now sprinting back to try and hopefully start his 100th MotoGP race. As Marini, you can see there with his damaged leathers, he's back inside the garage. He's going to get a new suit on there. Let's go down once again to Jack for a further update. Jack.
Yeah, no idea yet. It's going to be a minimum 5 minutes before pit lane will be open. New race distance, as I think you guys confirmed, 12 laps, and everybody that took part in the second restart is eligible for this third start once again. The teams have all just been informed of that information.
Thanks very much, Jack. Middle of your picture there is Johan Zarco. He's just going to miss his braking marker here, isn't he?
I think he already has, hasn't he?
On the outside of Luca Marini he goes. Oh, it's Pecco Bagnaia's bike he gets tangled up in. Zarco's LCR Honda just sliding into the gravel trap. So, having made the contact with the rear of Luca Marini's factory Honda, nothing that Pecco Bagnaia knew about that, of course, at all. But Pecco was actually unseated from his factory Ducati because Zarco unfortunately got tangled up between the rear seat and the rear tyre.
Yeah, nothing Bagnaia could do about that, and it's so easily done. We've talked about it all weekend. It's one of the longest runs down to one of the biggest stops at the start of a race. You get yourself, even from a standing start on the grid here, you're getting yourself well up towards 330, 340 kilometres an hour, well over 200 miles an hour, and then you're all braking, you're disengaging front ride height devices, you're in the draft, you're in the wake of riders up ahead of you, and it's so easy to have an incident like that when you just get hoovered up in the slipstream of someone else. And yeah, it looked, didn't it, from the aerial shot, Zarco had missed his braking marker. It was clear from about 100 metres earlier that Zarco wasn't getting that 100 stops, and it was just a case of who he ran into.
Yeah, he'd have done his best to try and take an evasive action, but Zarco into the back of Luca Marini, Honda on Honda, and then poor old Johann Zarco. I mean, a millimetre left, a millimetre right, all this but swaps and maybes, but he would not have got himself into that position where he'd get tangled up with Pecco Bagnaia's factory Ducati. So 2 red flags then here. All riders who started the 13-lap restart are eligible for the second restart. Of course, that does then include LCR Honda rider Johann Zarco, although we have to expect, given the fact that he's undergoing ongoing treatment in the gravel trap, that Johann Zarco, unfortunately, will be missing from this restarted Catalan Grand Prix, along with Enea Bastianini and Alex Marquez. So 2 red flags we've had here this afternoon in Catalunya. The new race distance will be over 12 laps, which is exactly the same number of laps that we had in yesterday's sprint, yesterday afternoon. Monitoring the screens and hoping that everything's okay, or relatively okay, with their rider Johann Zarco as his LCR Honda crew. Pecco Bagnaia, we saw him get on a scooter pretty quickly to get himself back into pit lane. Let's get a word on the double MotoGP World Champion. Jack, down to you.
Yeah, he's just got back to the box, but he's gone into his office just to change out of the damaged leathers he was in with the crash he was just involved in. But the second bike is here ready to go. Davide Tardozzi just confirming that he will be taking part in the restart once it gets underway.
Yeah, thanks very much for that latest update, Jack. So Johann Zarco, as you can see from the helicopter shot, is being transferred into a trackside ambulance. Of course, as always, race officials here very quick to act with the red flag. There were medical staff, marshals on the scene almost immediately once Johann Zarco had come to a rest in that turn 1 gravel trap. So all we can really say, with no confirmation when this restart will happen, is once again our thoughts, all of our best wishes go to both Alex Marquez and to Johann Zarco.
And as with earlier, with the first stoppage, we will get 5 minutes of notice for when this Grand Prix is going to get underway. Yeah, let's just hope we get the remaining 19. We're going to start there, so we get 19 fully fit Grand Prix riders back to the checkered flag in one piece, because this has been a dramatic afternoon. Of course, the first incident involving Pedro Acosta's broken down KTM, Alex Marquez, which then impacted 2 or 3 other riders behind him. The ice pack is now in the Ducati box for Pecco Bagnaia. I think it's his left arm that he was concerned with. We saw him favouring that in the gravel trap. Yeah, he now puts the ice pack on there. As you said earlier on, Bagnaia's had his fair share of drama and red flags and trips to hospital before here at the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya. He doesn't want another, and Luca Marini has now successfully changed leathers, and he's now got to try get himself mentally back in the zone for a restart.
There's plenty of ice packs put to use in pit lane. We saw Johann Zarco himself getting his left ankle iced before that restart. A restart which was red flagged, unfortunately, for an incident which did involve the 35-year-old Frenchman. You can see he's shortly going to be transferred back to the paddock, to the Circuit Medical Centre and to the state-of-the-art medical facilities here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. So Pecco Bagnaia and Luca Marini both quickly back to the paddock, and they are eligible for this restart. So at the third time of asking, Marini will at least get a chance to complete in his 100th MotoGP race. Well, it's been a very dramatic and eventful day. Johan Zarco has just been transferred to medical centre for further checks, as you can see on the screens. A very dramatic and eventful day for the factory KTM squad, with Pedro Acosta involved in that nasty incident with Alex Marquez that brought out the first red flags. Let's get an update and some thoughts from the boss, Aki Ayo, with Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, still 12 laps to go here and a Grand Prix to be won. But have you got an idea what happened in that first incident? What happened to Pedro's bike, Aki?
We don't know exactly yet, but seems like there is some kind of electronic problem which caused the stop of the bike. But actually, we don't have yet clear information for this.
We saw Brad come off the grid, Anea break down during the race, then a problem for Pedro. Is there a concern that there's something bigger happening here?
No, at the moment seems like things are not related to each other. So there was, let's say, quite normal clutch issue for Brad. Maybe he caused it already when he started the warm-up lap and overheating the clutch. And seems like Enea has some kind of, let's say, mechanical problem.
For Pedro, how difficult is it for him to refocus after an incident as big as that?
I think for all the riders now it's really difficult, of course, always after accident, and of course the third start already, so makes it really complicated, but it's part of our business.
Absolutely. Thanks, Aki.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. Thanks to Aki Ayo. As he mentioned, unfortunately, clashes, injuries, technical problems, it's all part of the game, it's all part of the business in the Motogp World Championship. The riders, more than anybody, they know the risks themselves, but you ask them, they would not want to earn a living any other way other than racing the fastest motorcycles in the world. So this is latest information then. The pit lane will reopen. The pit lane will open at 15:12 at local time. So just over 5 minutes time over the shortened distance now of 12 laps, mirroring yesterday's sprint yesterday afternoon. And once again, it will be the quick restart procedure, as you can see on the top of your screens. That information being relayed through from race direction.
Applause beneath us in the grandstand, because the ambulance that's transporting Johan Zarco to the medical centre is now making its way back up the main straight and up pit lane. The medical centre, as we look, is in fact directly outside our commentary box. It's just past the podium. The ambulance is now going past us, underneath us, into pit lane, and then directly to the medical centre. I can see Dr. Angel Chartra already making his way into the medical centre, where he'll await the arrival of Johan Zarco.
So 4.5 minutes away from the pit lane reopening. There is Pedro Acosta, who for the third time on this Sunday is going to be starting in this Catalan Grand Prix from a pole position. He made a good start in that restart to make sure he fended off the fast starting Jorge Martin. I'm sure he went home 15:08 local time here in Barcelona, so 4 minutes away from the scheduled restart. Luca Marini getting ready for the restart. There is Joan Mir as well. Of course, he was involved himself, an innocent party in yesterday's sprint at the first corner, where a little bit of contact between Gian Antonio, minimal contact if any, sent Brad Binder down the road, and then unfortunately Brad Binder's fallen factory KTM skittled out Joan Mir. On that occasion, thankfully, we did not need any red flag intervention. But today, quite clearly, race direction having no other alternative after the nasty incident involving Johan Zarco, with Italians Bagnaia and Marini also involved.
The tricky thing you have when you have a situation like this of a red flag and a shortened distance is, of course, increases the stakes of trying to get that good start. Let's head down to VR46. Of course, Fabio Di Gianantonio was injured in the first restart. He will be taking his third restart from fourth. Pablo Nietos with Jack.
Yeah, helmet on for Didier. He's obviously going to be taking part in this third restart, but clearly a bit of discomfort after that first incident. What did he tell you?
Yeah, he didn't see the bike, so you know, when this kind of things happen, it's very difficult to the riders to try to jump the problem, no? But anyway, more or less he's okay, and now it's a lot of adrenaline, so this is normal. But I think we can make a good race.
Where's the pain?
In the hand. He has a little bit
Bruise?
Yes, a bruise. So this is normal when you have this kind of crash.
Thanks, Pablo.
Thank you.
Bruising then on the hand of Fabio Di Giannantonio. Lots of bumps and bruises for several riders that are going to make this 12-lap restart. I mean, we've got walking wounded, we've got Fabio Di Giannantonio, we've got Pecco Bagnaia, Luca Marini, Ralph Fernandez. Unfortunately, we're going to be missing Johan Zarco and Alex Marquez as we try for the third time of asking to complete this Grand Prix of Barcelona. Let's hope when we finally do get back underway, it is a clean getaway, and the battle that those fans have turned up to watch here today.
And a reminder that Enea Bastianini too is also out of this race. Second red flag doesn't change his situation. Wasn't eligible to take the second restart, therefore he's not eligible to take the third. Of course, if we'd had a red flag in the first 3 laps of the original start, it would have been a repeat of the first start, same grid positions. That's not what happened. We had a red flag at half distance in the original start. Because this second red flag was in the first 3 laps of the new race, that is why we then have the same grid positions of what we already saw. Acosta, Fernandez and Martin on the front of the grid. Of course, we will have an empty space in the middle of the second row. Di Giannantonio will start 4th. Morbidelli will still start from his 6th place grid position. They won't all move up one. He will start from 6th place. There will just be an empty space in the middle of row 2.
So there is Pecco Bagnaia's factory Ducati being readied before this restart. Pedro Acosta from pole once again. Shark fans, they've been out in force here this weekend. Acosta has treated them to some show so far. Fastest on Friday, fastest in qualifying yesterday. Just pipped to a sprint win here by Alex Marquez in the tightest ever sprint finish we've ever seen since the start of 2023. So with the clock ticking down, we are 20 seconds away from yet another quick restart procedure here in Barcelona. Just a quick reminder, one mechanic is allocated a spot on the grid. They await their rider as they come to their allocated grid position, and once they're confident and happy that everything's okay, they will quickly clear the grid. We'll have a warm-up lap, and then we'll be back underway for what is now a 12-lap Catalan Grand Prix, just as it was the distance in yesterday's sprint course.
Sun's still out above us. There are a few ominous looking clouds into the distance. Of course, we've gone way past the point now where the original Grand Prix should have finished, but it doesn't appear as if we're going to get any rain coming in, although I guess there'll be half an eye on that. There was a very, very small chance, about a 10% chance or so that we might get some rain at around about 3:30 in the afternoon, I recall seeing in the weather forecast earlier on today, which of course we didn't really think would come into play. We are now coming up to 3:15 in the afternoon, but it doesn't appear as if those clouds are about to drop any rain on us in the next 20 minutes or so. So hopefully we should get this Grand Prix in full dry conditions.
Yes, we've had enough drama to contend with for one day. Thank you very much. We don't need the elements intervening as well as remaining 19 riders then come to the grid for this restart. It is 19 riders because unfortunately we are missing Johan Zarco and Alex Marquez through injury. Enea Bastianini unfortunately not involved. Luckily for Enea's case, he's perfectly A-OK physically wise, but a technical issue in the initial running of this Catalan Grand Prix means he's not eligible for this restart. Wasn't eligible for the first restart either, so a spectator, an unwanted spectator is the beast here in Barcelona as we track Pedro Acosta then now through this final sector we go. Here's the close competition once again going to emerge from Jorge Martin. You know how good Martin is at firing that Aprilia off the line. It looked like he briefly got ahead of Acosta on that first restart on the run down to the first corner. Acosta then did get the whole shot before there was all the drama that unfolded behind the top 2 Spaniards. So coming to the middle of that front row of the grid goes Ralph Fernandez. If you're wondering why there's the space there in P5, unfortunately that should have been occupied by Johan Zarco. And as we know, he has been ruled out. He's undergoing treatment in the Circuit Medical Centre. That's why there's a gap there on that second row of the grid, in between the two VR46 Ducatis of the Gian Antonio and Morbidelli. So let's hope this time around we are going to get a conclusion to this pretty eventful race day Sunday here in Barcelona.
Yeah, there are still 25 points to be fought for, still a Grand Prix victory to be claimed by somebody, still a very tight World Championship situation, with Marco Bezzecchi 2 points ahead of Jorge Martin. Martin, reminder, starts from the front row of the grid for this third part, I guess, of this Catalan Grand Prix. Marco Bezzecchi, he is back on the fourth row, which is where he was around about an hour and a quarter ago when the first part of this Catalan Grand Prix got underway, on board with Jorge Martin, who we never really got a chance to see it, but he of course had that brilliant initial start, and then he appeared to have some sort of issue himself on the way down to turn one, lost a bit of momentum and then dropped back into the pack ever so slightly, and so he has another opportunity now from the outside of the front row. And for the likes of Mir, Aldeguer and Marini, who are on that third row, that empty space will enable them to, as they hope, just drive straight through that gap and potentially move themselves up the order. Of course, heightened tension, as we mentioned, with this third start, particularly what's happened already here this afternoon. And so fingers crossed we get the 19 riders who are going to take this start to the checkered flag safely.
So through the final sector, the field go. Acosta then on pole position. Fernandez and Martin join him on what is now an all-Spanish front row. Well, it was, of course, with Alex Marquez there in the original restart. Yeah, there's a bit of tension in the atmosphere ahead of this now third attempt to complete this Catalan Grand Prix. Just on my comms box window, I can see both Marini and Bagnaya's crash bikes returning to the paddock after they were involved in the incident with Zarco, which brought out a second red flag on this race day Sunday here in Barcelona. So for the third time of asking, over 12 laps, we're going to go racing again here in Catalunya. It's the Catalan Grand Prix take 3. Lights out and racing in here in Montmeló. Another poor start by Fabio Di Gianantonio on the 49 VR46 Ducati. He's been passed away by Joan Mir. Acosta and Martin are going to go toe-to-toe and tough it out on the brakes into the first corner. Once again, it's Acosta, though, that just drops across the head of the factory Aprilia rider. Rafa Fernandez there in third place. Joan Mir's had a good start once again. He's in fourth on the factory Honda.
Pecco Bagnaia, credit to him, his left hand in pain. He's also made a very good start. He's straight up into fifth place. Tulsa twice former winner here.
12 lap sprint format. This is a massive opportunity, isn't it, as far as Martin's concerned? He's all further contact there.
On Bezzecchi, I think.
Was it Aldeguer? I think it was
Bezzecchi.
Aldeguer. Yeah, Aldeguer on the 54 bike that gives Bezzecchi a rather unfriendly tap going through turn 4. Maybe an unfriendly tap coming in. It is.
Taking him down.
Ralph Fernandez then on the inside. Well, these two rubbed fairings yesterday in the sprint at turn 5, and Ralph Fernandez will talk about an own goal as far as Aprilia are concerned. Ralph Fernandez on the inside of Jorge Martin. Martin squeezed him, which was perfectly entitled to do. So Jorge Martin, after a double win in Le Mans last weekend, now has a double DNF.
One Aprilia takes out another, and just ever get the feeling Pedro Acosta today might just be your day. Clattered by Alex Marquez, was able to take the restart. He's now leading this Grand Prix map from Joan Mir, Pecco Bagnaia and Fabio Quartararo.
Crash number 5 of the weekend for Jorge Martin. What a difference a week makes in MotoGP. A double victory, pure elation last weekend for Martin, and a 5th crash, and this one not of his own doing, after being collected by Ralph Fernandez down the hill into turn 5. A double DNF after the double win last time out. Acosta then it is that leads Joan Mir, the big benefactor of the Aprilia tangle there. Martin has rejoined, so maybe it's not a double DNF for him. Was that Brad Binder going a little bit hot there into the first corner further down the field? Martin, though, back upright. The incident between him and Fernandez is under investigation.
Yeah, Binder's dropped to 13th after sailing wide into that first corner. So Acosta leads from Mir. They're on the soft rear tyre. Information on our timing screens is that Bagnaia in third is on the medium, as we nearly get another collision between a Trackhouse Aprilia. This time it's Agura getting nerfed wide by Aldeguer. They're battling for 6th place, believe it or not.
Yeah, and that's allowed Bezzecchi to squeeze on through as well. Into turn 5 we go. where there was that controversial moment between the two bikes on the opposite side of the garage there. It's Bezzecchi versus Agura. On lap 1 it was Fernandez versus Martin. Simon Crowfar's going to be busy in the F1 Motogp steward's office. So a little bit premature, I want to say it's a double DNF for Jorge Martin, but this is a big talking point, a big controversial moment in this year's MotoGP World Challenge, because has that once again denied Jorge Martin the chance to lead this year's championship? Or Massimo Rivola.
Discussions there, weren't they? Massimo Rivola and the outgoing Davide Brivio at the end of this season. Not really sure what Davide Brivio could say at this stage, because it was Raul who made the contact. Jorge Martin so often puts his left shoulder down through turn 5. Unfortunately, his left shoulder was contacted by a Trackhouse Aprilia.
What was Massimo Rivola's clear message about a potential title fight between Marco Bezzecchi and Jorge Martin? Yeah, they can race each other hard, but it has to be done with respect. He will not be happy about that. It's a massive own goal from the Aprilias. Fabio Di Gianantonio, though, is the quickest rider on circuit at 1:39.736. And now we're in sort of sprint mode, aren't we? You don't have to worry about tyre conservation, tyre preservation here. It's just head down, full throttle, and go for it.
Yeah, so we've got Bagnaia on the medium rear tyre in 3rd place. I guess his only soft rear tyre remaining was on the bike that got skittled down at the first corner in the 2nd start, so he's forced to go with the medium rear. We've also got Agura and Marini, of course, same boat as Bagnaia, also on the medium rear tyre, along with Jack Miller and Raul Fernandez, who, of course, is now down at the back of the field. Everyone else is still on a soft rear.
On the unlikeliest of situations, as Mir closed in on Acosta, Pecco Bagnaia somehow might be ending Ducati's long barren run. The factory team without a podium in the last 10 Grand Prix, their worst run in over a decade. But in the 3rd time running of this Catalan Grand Prix, he's there in 3rd place, potentially on the box for the first time since he won the Japanese Grand Prix last September.
He might yet take a 3rd Barcelona victory yet, Pecco Bagnaia, although he's getting a bit detached. It's Acosta and Mir who've got a few bike lengths ahead. Di Gianantonio might be the real danger here for Acosta in 4th place. Fastest rider, as you mentioned, on the last lap. 4 away at the front. Quattararo's nearly a second behind in 5th place, with Aldeguer for company.
Now then, here is Acosta, Joan Mir in 2nd place. Mir looking really lively on that factory on. Look how much time. Mir closes up through the fast right-handers of 13 and 14. Great corner speed that Mir had going through 13. Is he closer to pick up some slipstream behind the fastest motorcycle here in Barcelona this weekend? Of course he is. 36 versus 37. Acosta just about resisting at the front of this battle. Acosta, the slowest of the top 4 on that previous lap, just drops back into the 140s. Mir, Bagnaia, Di Gianantonio quicker behind him. Last 2 laps of the sprint yesterday, Di Gianantonio was the quickest rider on track. Once again right now, he's the fastest rider in this shortened Grand Prix.
And of course, what would have been a mindset of looking after your tyres, I'm not so sure they'll be thinking about that in this shortened 12-lap distance. You've just got to go for it and just hope for the best. 4 away at the front, as we've now got Agura and Bezzecchi closing in on that Aldeguer Quattararo battle as well. So Bezzecchi in 8th place, and of course with Martin still running but at the back of the field, all of a sudden it's swung round for Marco Bezzecchi to extend his World Championship lead.
Bezzecchi is not going to believe how he somehow is going to hang on to the World Championship lead at the end of this Catalan Grand Prix. He was losing the lead yesterday when Jorge Martin crashed out of victory contention. No further action then taken in the incident by Martin and Fernandez. A racing incident, but an incident which is going to be a major talking point as far as Aprilia are concerned, as Di Gianantonio comes from a long way back on the inside of Pecco Bagnaia. Digit then up into P3, and now this could spell trouble as far as Acosta and Mir are concerned, because once Digit can get into his rhythm, well, we know how quick he was in the sprint yesterday. This is effectively another sprint here in Barcelona, and now having worked his way through on Bagnaia, we know he's got the pace to get ahead of the 2 Spaniards.
Remember, it's so easy to forget so much has happened. Of course, he was taken down in the first red flag when bits of Alex Marquez's bike were scattered in his direction. A 140.0 for both Mir and Di Gianantonio. Aldeguer's in the 39s now in 5th place. He might not be out of this either yet. Of course, we've got Acosta at the front, never won a MotoGP race. Joan Mir's only won once, and that was, of course, all the way back in 2020 in Valencia. Fabio Di Gianantonio himself, of course, he's only taken 1 MotoGP victory, Qatar a few years ago.
The factory Honda team hasn't won since Marc Marquez won the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix 5 years ago in 2021. It's all there for the taking potentially as far as Mir goes. Through turn 4 we go. Mir trying to find a way through on Acosta. Lap 5 of 12, halfway around this fifth lap, approaching half race distance as Agura comes from a long way back. On the inside of Fabio Quartararo, it was slightly cleaner by Agura than what we saw from his teammate Fernandez on Martin in a controversial collision at the start of this Grand Prix.
He's up into 6th place now, is Agura. So KTM versus Honda versus Ducati versus Ducati. The top four, the four-rider group that is away at the front of the moment. Bagnaia not able to make much of an indent in the three up ahead of him. And we've criticised on occasions this year, haven't we, Joan Mir for throwing the Honda at the scenery when in very good positions. I think we can all forgive him if he's winning top in it today.
Yeah. Honda are just going to go, you go all in, mate. You just absolutely go full send. Don't have any regrets. Just pull the pin and see what happens. Try and keep this pressure on Acosta. Yesterday, Acosta in the sprint said he was suffering with the edge grip on that KTM, and clearly you can see through turn 12, the long sweeping right-hander, then the last two rights, 13 and 14, Mia's got the better corner speed. He has got the better edge grip.
The problem he's got, though, is he doesn't have that ultimate straight line speed. Even in the slipstream look, he couldn't really do much up with it behind Pedro Acosta. Don't get hoovered up into the slipstream there, Joan. Very nearly did. Managed to miss the rear tyre of Pedro Acosta. So what would normally be the best opportunity to make an overtake down to turn 1, I'm not so sure on that factory Honda it is for Mir.
We know how Acosta is an awesome attacker in MotoGP. We know he's a pretty good defender as well. We saw it so many times last year on a KTM that wasn't as competitive as some of the Ducatis he was going toe-to-toe with. Acosta will make that RC16 as wide as some of the motorways outside this Barcelona circuit to try and protect his slender advantage. Bezzecchi trying to put some pressure on Quartararo going through turn 5. Those two battling it out for 7th place.
Yeah, Martin, reminder, is still running. You can see on the left-hand side of the screen, he's in 19th place. He's some 26 seconds off the race lead. So unless we have 4 dropouts, Martin will not score any points today.
Acosta at the moment is still resisting this pressure from Mir and the Gian Antonio. Bagnaia's been dropped. In fact, Bagnaia might be losing further places because Fermin Aldeguer has honed right in on his rear tyre. Not like Diggio was maybe a little bit wide on the entry into 10 as he tries to get on par with Mir and Acosta ahead of him.
Yeah, just a reminder, the problem Bagnaia has here is he doesn't have another soft rear tyre available. Of course, that one remaining soft rear was on the bike that was taken down at turn 1, so Bagnaia was having to do this on the medium rear.
Gian Antonio were coming to the phase of the sprint yesterday over the same distance of this 12-lap Grand Prix where he really did come into his own. Acosta, nothing between him and Mir over the line, less than a tenth of a second splitting the Spaniards. We know how good the KTM is at stopping. We know how late in the brakes Acosta is. There's just nothing at the moment that Mir can do to get through. Bezzecchi's found a way through on Quartararo. That's important points for the World Championship.
7th is worth 9 World Championship points. So if you put the flag out now, he would extend his lead to 11 points, although of course we have to consider that Pedro Acosta is currently on course for 25 World Championship points, which would slingshot him right into the action.
That's been coming. Aldeguer makes the move through on Bagnaia at turn 4. Bagnaia just has not got the grip underneath Mazda with that medium rear tyre. Now then, they are starting to really gang up behind Acosta right now because the Gian Antonio has jumped all over the back of Joan Mir's number 36 factory Honda. The Gian Antonio was so fast. He was so good at the end of the sprint yesterday. He was lapping a lot faster than both Alex Marquez and Acosta over those last 2 or 3 laps. He's building towards another strong finale here once again.
Well, we've heard Pedro Acosta described as an animal before. He's going to have to be here for a moment. Mir was thinking about it into turn 10. Remember that incredible defence that Acosta put up in Indonesia last year when he pretty much backed up the whole race behind him. He would quite happily sign for another one of those right now.
With his first MotoGP success in his grasp, can you imagine being taken away by all people? Joan Mir on a factory Honda, a rider who's in excess of 50 DNFs in sprints and Grand Prix on that RC213V. Mir, though, is well and truly in the game. We believe he's going to go on a Ducati 850cc machine next year at Gresini. Occupying his mind right now is trying to find a way through on Pedro Acosta's KTM. The KTM we know is super rapid down the start-finish straight. You're going to have to be bold to make a move on Acosta on the brakes into turn 1. Mir at the moment just can't find that way through as now Agura picks off Bagnaia.
Shout out to Agura too, because he's also in the medium rear tyre, just did a 39.936. He is the fastest rider on the racetrack at the moment. Acosta is just going to hug the inside of the racetrack, forcing Joan Mir to go the long way around. But is he going to go in too hot? Mir's going to sniff an opportunity now.
Well, they're almost tripping up over the back, aren't they, of Acosta right now? We saw Acosta suffer with pace sort of around the half-distance point of yesterday's sprint before. He had a real late flurry as well, so it's not a case of if Mir and Didier do get through on the number 37, it's going to be game over for Acosta. But boy, is he under some massive, massive pressure right now. Humongous pressure being thrown at him by both Mir and the Gian Antonio.
Is Aldeguer out of this? I'm not sure he is just yet. He's about 9/10 off the back of this trio that we're looking at. Gian Antonio, if he wants to make his move, he needs to make it soon. Here comes that move, up into second place, past Mir.
Yeah, and this is concerning if you're Acosta and KTM, because, as mentioned, the Gian Antonio was lightning quick at the end of yesterday's sprint, and now, having finally worked his way through on Mir, he has given himself plenty of time. He's given himself 4 laps and a couple of corners here now to reel in and pass Acosta.
Well, he said how much would it hurt if Acosta loses a first victory to Joan Mir. I think the one thing that would hurt less is if he loses it to, of all people, the rider who passed at him and gave him the stare in Le Mans last week, Fabio Di Gian Antonio.
Imagine if Didier passes him and then out the last corner he gives him a good long look. Yeah, Didier trying to waste precious little time here and getting to the front. Once again, though, Acosta on the brakes into that first corner is just absolutely phenomenal. He is doing everything. He is absolutely wringing the neck of that KTM right now to try and keep himself ahead of Didier.
Aldeguer and Ayagura are in danger of joining this group, while Acosta's backing this up with Di Gian Antonio and Mir. They're doing 40.6s. Acosta leading the race. A 40.3 for Aldeguer. He's now within a second of the lead, and a 40.2 for Ayagura. He's also joining this.
Guess who's watching trackside? Valentino Rossi, Fabio Di Gian Antonio's team boss. 5 times he was a Motogp winner here himself, was the doctor. This is just what the doctor ordered right now, as Didier on the 49 bike steamrollers towards Acosta. VR46 Ducati have not had a win since Marco Bezzecchi in the Grand Prix of India back in 2023. Is their own barren run about to come to an end? Acosta, though, is still riding out of his skin. He is producing more brilliance, more heroics, isn't he, on that factory KTM.
You are going to drag him out of this race lead, kicking and screaming if you're able to do it, because surely no one wants this as much as Pedro Acosta. So many close calls, so many near misses. He is 3 1/4 laps away from a maiden MotoGP victory, but he's now got a queue of 4 riders: Di Gian Antonio, Mir, Aldeguer and Agura queuing up behind him.
Who would have thought at the start of the initial running of this Grand Prix, Ayagura had any chance of being on the podium, starting 18th on the grid. Mir desperate to try and hang on to a rare Honda podium. Once again, the Gian Antonio picks up a bit of slipstream, just moves to Acosta's right, but nowhere near close enough to make a move on the brakes. Going to get close there between Quartararo and Marini. Further down the field, Marini in 9th in what is his 100th MotoGP start.
Bagnaia now in the 41s. That's Bezzecchi catching him. Bezzecchi could yet get himself into the top 6 here.
Fabio Di Gian Antonio, he's right there. Bit of a snap there on the brakes for Mir's Honda as he grabbed a handful of that lever going into turn 4. We're in that tight inside line on the Ducati GP26 goes Didier. Aldeguer and Agura are right there, aren't they? Now this is building up to be some finale. We're going to be having a grandstand finish here shortly, aren't we, in Barcelona? Somehow Costa's still at the front of the shortened Grand Prix, but Aldeguer and Agura now are coming to play.
And Di Gian Antonio has had long enough now, a couple laps, to look at Costa ahead of him, to work out where he's strong, where he's weak. He's already found out that it's very, very difficult to outbrake that number 37. As good as Di Gian Antonio is, can he get that Ducati stop? He's just going to park it on the inside of Pedro Acosta and force him to give the lead up. Acosta's not going to give this up without an almighty fight.
On the cut, back goes Acosta. The Gian Antonio's going to have the inside line though, going through turn 12. Acosta will be hating this. He'll be despising this with every inch of his body, because this history, isn't there? Last weekend in the French Grand Prix, he did not like it when Fabio Di Gian Antonio passed him the 4th at the final corner. And on a good with Valentino watching on from trackside, is Didier going to win the first Grand Prix for VR46 in 3 years?
Has Acosta got any answer? If he has, he's only got about a lap and 3/4 to find it. The main straight was the main opportunity, but Di Gian Antonio was so good through those final rights to close the lap. His lead is nearly already 4/10.
Acosta's got no corner speed. He said yesterday when he was racing Alex Marquez's Ducati GP26, Alex just had the far better edge grip. That's what allowed the Gian Antonio to be be so strong through those final couple of corners. He set up that pass, brilliantly done. Acosta here, he might be clinging on for a podium, let alone the win. So Pedro Acosta, his heart is sinking right now as he sees that elusive first victory slipping away from him once again. Fabio Di Giannantonio is already through sector 2, almost 7/10 of a second clear of Acosta. This is Digi's now to lose.
Yeah, looks like it's done unless he makes a mistake. And this is a rider, remember, who was showered by debris from Alex Marquez's broken Ducati, around an hour ago in the original start to this Grand Prix. There must be pain under the leathers and under the helmet of Fabio Di Giannantonio, but the perfect painkiller could be coming in a lap and a half of a second MotoGP win.
No pain, no gain. Di Giannantonio, what a moment this is going to be potentially for the Italian. What a moment for him to win just his second ever race with the boss watching on. Valentino Rossi, a Hall of Famer, will be absolutely loving this. Can Mir relegate Acosta back to third place? Can Acosta hold on to the podium? Out of the final corner we go. 4.6 kilometres standing in between Fabio Di Giannantonio and a VR46 Ducati win here.
Well, Mir's been trying this all afternoon, ever since the restart. This time he is just going to launch it on the inside of Pedro Acosta, who didn't have the braking capacity that time. Mir up into second place, and a rare podium beckons for the 2020 World Champion.
Acosta's losing the podium here. Acosta's not going to be on the podium if he's not careful. He isn't. He's got no grip. He has got no edge grip whatsoever. A sitting duck, a passenger. Aldeguer dives on the inside of Acosta with the better edge grip through turn 4 we go now. So Aldeguer is through, and Pedro Acosta, having led for so much of this 12-lap Grand Prix, he might even take the checkered flag here in 5th. Di Giannantonio has cleared off. He has checked out. What has Acosta got left? Can Agura make it back-to-back podiums? That's going to be the story to complete this Catalan Grand Prix.
What a story, though, for Fabio Di Giannantonio, a rider who it would appear is leaving VR46 at the end of next season. They are still trying very hard to keep hold of him for next season, and he's giving the perfect demonstration this afternoon of why they want to keep him.
Into turn 10, Fabio Di Giannantonio goes. His solitary MotoGP victory came under the night lights in Qatar back in 2023 when he was a Gresini Ducati rider, but this one is going to be super sweet. It looks like Joan Mir and Fermin Aldeguer are going to crush Acosta's hopes here. Acosta, having done so much of the front running, won't even be on the box here. This is going to be heartache for Acosta, but through the final corner we go. Fabio Di Giannantonio is your leader. Acosta goes down, but it's just what the doctor ordered. With Valentino watching trackside, his rider Fabio Di Giannantonio wins the shortened Catalan Grand Prix. Drama throughout this afternoon in the top class. Top rider, though, on the top step of the podium for just the second time in his career is 27-year-old Italian Fabio Di Giannantonio. VR46 Ducati are winners for the first time since India. Marco Bezzecchi back in 2023. And poor old Pedro Acosta. Contact there. It's been a pretty controversial Catalan Grand Prix eventually for Trackhouse Aprilia, with both Ralph Fernandez and now Agura both being investigated by the stewards. So Costa gets dumped on his backside through the final corner. We talked about him losing the podium, losing the win. Not even going to see the checkered flag. It's Pedro Acosta. What a shortened Catalan Grand Prix that was. It's Fabio Di Giannantonio that is your race winner. The boss looking on from trackside. He'll be loving his Barcelona experience in 2026. Mir then does take second place. Fermin Aldeguer, a highly unlikely third place. Let's go down and get some thoughts, I'm sure, from an ecstatic VR46 Ducati boss. Uccio Salucci with Jack.
Yeah, as he gets a huge embrace from Pablo Nieto, there are tears in the eyes of Uccio Salucci. This one means quite a lot to the team. Uccio, very quickly, I can see the emotion on your face. Why does this mean so much?
It was unbelievable. I want to thank you to this because today he have also, I'm sorry, I have also a lot of pain of the hand. He decided to never start and they make one race like this. I want to say thank you to him, to our team, to our partner. Big emotion for me today.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
A big emotion, a big day, a big win for Fabio Di Gianantonio. This is why Ducati, and in particular VR46 management and Valentino Rossi himself, have been desperately trying to convince Didier to stay put next year in Ducati. It looks like he has been tempted away by the lure of a full factory KTM. Should be partnering Alex Marquez in the Austrian factory next year. He's at part of the circuit, of course, in the initial running of that Catalan Grand Prix, where he was clattered by all kinds of debris that were being detached from Alex Marquez's crashed Gresini Ducati.
Well,
what a day. Yeah.
Started with the restart. The third start started with this incident. For second place, Ralf Fernandez and Jorge Martin. The stewards decided that no action was necessary at the end of this one. Both riders continued, but there will be some interesting and fraught discussions across the two Aprilia teams after that one.
Yeah, a very, very sort of sarcastic applause from Jorge Martin.
He's absolutely raging.
Well, the thing is, it's another Aprilia rider. It's, you know, he's fighting for the World Championship, and with the greatest respect to Ralf Fernandez, I mean, he's been declared he's been cleared of any wrongdoing by the FI MotoGP stewards, but when you're riding for the same factory, you've got to. Aguero's got a 3-second penalty. He was busted with a long lap for the contact with Acosta. Of course, he had no time to serve it, so he gets a 3-second penalty. Look at those scenes, wonderful scenes, magnificent scenes, as Valentino Rossi congratulates his race winner, Fabio Di Gianantonio.
Aguero down to 9th place. So Marco Bezzecchi, that one held Jorge Martin's mood either, because that promotes Marco Bezzecchi now up, after all the drama, to 5th place.
That was very Aguero-like, wasn't it? Normally, when Aguero's making overtakes in MotoGP, they are clean as a whistle. Contact, though, with Pedro Acosta. But he's a very polite young chap, isn't he, Aguero, as he goes down to apologise to Pedro Acosta's crew. Let's hope that Acosta is OK. He took some big barrel rolls through the gravel trap. At the end of what has been a very eventful, a very dramatic race day. Yeah, look at all the scuff marks on Fabio Di Gianantonio's leathers after he was on the floor in the aftermath of the Marquez Acosta contact in race 1. There is Aguero coming down to apologise. That penalty that's come the way of Aguero then drops him from 4th down to 9th. The 3-second penalty that puts Brad Binder up into 8th. But wonderful scenes, emotional scenes for Fabio Di Gianantonio, because that was not easy. That was a tough 12 laps for all of those riders. Joan Mir then on the podium. Are these premature celebrations? Because as you can see on the graphic, Joan Mir's name with Razgatlioglu, Fernandez, Rins and Miller, Bagnaia, they're all under investigation. Bezzecchi could be on the podium. Could be on the podium.
Of course, that will all get sorted out in the next hour or so. I hope the race direction and the stewards haven't booked flights back home this evening, because they're going to have to be cancelled. So we've got, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 riders who are under high pressure investigations. Don't worry about Fernandez, because he was down in 16th. Toprak might lose a point, he was in 15th. But the key story there, which I think is just being relayed to Joan Mir, is that he and Pecco Bagnaia, who were 2nd and 4th in this Grand Prix, are under investigation for their tyre pressures. What else can happen this afternoon?
What a day. What a day we have had here in Barcelona. Of course, amidst all the celebrations, all the smiles and the congratulations, we once again send our thoughts to Alex Marquez and Joan Zarco, riders caught up in nasty accidents that brought out 2 red flags here today in Catalunya. Both of them were reported conscious at the scene. We know Alex was transferred to a nearby hospital. But Fabio Di Gianantonio, he rode those 12 laps on pure adrenaline, didn't he, after he got clattered by some of Alex Marquez's debris. And there he is. He's got the battle scars to show what a tough afternoon it was for the Italian. What a day for VR46 as well, and on a circuit where Valentino did so much of his winning in all classes. He was a winner here in 125s, winner here in 250s, did a whole bunch of winning here in MotoGP as well. So a race-winning rider here in MotoGP in the past, Valentino Rossi, and now he is a race-winning team owner here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Didn't need a 2009 special on Jorge Lorenzo at the final corner like Rossi did all those years ago.
Jack and Valentino will go up onto the podium to accept the winning constructor prize, because he's been up there 199 times. Maybe he can claim this as the 200.
What was his last Assen? Was it all the way back in 19? Was it the old
Jerez
memories?
2020.
Yeah, Jerez 2020. Of course it was. Yeah, Assen was his last win, I believe, wasn't it? All those years ago. So this story has not reached a conclusion. We haven't got the final chapter written at the moment. Just a reminder, there are riders under a time pressure investigation, including Joan Mir, Fermin Aldeguer, and it could be third up to second. What a ride by Aldeguer. He's with Jack.
Fermin, what a performance, what a story it's been since the start of the year. You broke your leg in January, now 4-5 months later, you're back onto a MotoGP podium. Just talk us through the journey you've been on this year.
Yeah, super difficult start of the season for me and for all my people, but we are back here in the podium for sure. In not an easy weekend, because we start in 15th position for yellow flags, for my crash, and all of this was difficult, but we are here. This race is for all my people, also for my teammate. I hope he's okay, and just I'm super happy.
Well said. Great to see you back.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's had some tough times, some dark days, Fermin Aldeguer. Of course, it was right at the start of January where he fractured a femur. He came from, well, he was 15th on the grid in the initial running. He started the restart in 8th, and this was the key move. Acosta just had nothing. Acosta had no edge grip whatsoever, sitting duck through the fast corners. Nevertheless, that's a ballsy move there from Fermin Aldeguer to fire it on the inside of Acosta going through that turn 3. Poor old Pedro Acosta, what is going through the mind of the KTM rider right now? Fastest on Friday, pole position. He loses the closest sprint in history. He was a leader for so much of the initial running of that Catalan Grand Prix, did so much of the front running in our second restart, and there's not even a podium, not even a finish for Acosta to celebrate. For the time being, though, at least, it is a podium and a second place for Joan Mir in front of his home crowd. Let's get his thoughts with Jack.
Well, Joan, you are under investigation, but for the moment, this is second place after a magnificent ride. How much does this mean to get the Honda onto the podium and to do it here on home soil?
Yeah, it feels amazing, you know. We've been dreaming for this and working very hard during all the first part of the season, but many crashes, but hopefully today we could put everything together. I enjoyed a lot the racing, despite, you know, 2 red flags, 3 starts. It wasn't an easy one. They should give more points for this, but you know, hopefully the Johan and Tonso Alex, wishing them the best, and yeah, hopefully to see them in Mugello.
Great job today. Thank you.
Yeah, great to see some of the thoughts of both Fermin Aldeguer and Joan Mir immediately with Alex Marquez and Johan Zarco. This was Mir's move then on the brakes into turn 1. That's not an easy move to make, because we know how good Pedro Acosta was braking into that first corner, but he had no momentum through 13 and 14 to propel him down that long start finish straight, and ultimately, as the grip faded, Mir swept on through his first podium of the campaign, his first since Malaysian Grand Prix in Sepang last year. With VR46, well, they are thrilled to bits, aren't they, here in Barcelona? A real tough day for Fabio Di Gianantonio. Didn't even get the opportunity to change leathers, did he? Look at all the scuff marks on his leathers after, I think he actually might have made contact with one of Alex Marquez's tyres that was flying through the air after that scary incident on the run down to turn 10. He kisses the number 49. He might be kissing farewell to Ducati in VR46 at the end of 2026, but in the present, living in the moment and enjoying the moment. There's his crew chief, Matteo Flamini. Matteo did so much winning. That's Frankie Morbidelli's crew chief, I should say. Matteo Flamini did so much winning as part of Valentino Rossi's backroom crew for so many years. But here he is then for just the second time in his MotoGP career, Fabio Di Gianantonio. Getting the congratulations. There's Big Mig, Andrea Mino, very much part of the VR46 stable still. But Fabio Di Gianantonio, your race winner here in Catalunya. He's with Jack.
Fabio, after being involved in that scary incident, you showed extraordinary courage, grit, determination to go out there and win the Catalan Grand Prix. Just talk us through how you managed to refocus and go out and win that.
I'm so happy, but first of all, I was really worried about all the riders crashed. Today has not been an easy day for everybody, I guess. I really hope that Alex is fine. We've been really lucky. We know that our sport is amazing. We try to give an amazing show, but also we are humans. We are in danger, so I really hope that everybody is safe. Joan, I saw Pecco a little injured also, and also Alex. But yeah, I'm really happy about myself and the team. They did an amazing job. We were looking for it since a long time, so we must be proud and happy.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Ciao a tutti.
Yeah, great words there by Fabio Di Gianantonio. His first thoughts after that memorable afternoon, which started in this dramatic fashion, chaotic scene. I think it was the front wheel, wasn't it? Looked like the forks were mounted there to Alex Marquez's stricken Ducati. He got a big whack, obviously, on the left lower arm, didn't he, Fabio Di Gianantonio? But he was eligible for the restart. He was fit enough for the restart. And we said, didn't we, in commentary, at the end of that 12-lap sprint yesterday, the fastest rider on circuit was Digia, and he proved it once again here today. It's a phenomenal victory. That was his race-winning overtake, threw on a Costa on the brakes in the turn 10, and from that moment onwards, he never looked back. And this is the sweet taste of success. Fabio Di Gianantonio, a race winner for two different Ducati teams now in the Motogp World Championship. Look at the boss. He is absolutely ecstatic. Vias for Valentino. Vias for victory for VR46 here in Barcelona.
Of course, our thoughts are still with those, as Fabio Di Gianantonio's was, on those injured. Just, I'm sure you're keen for information. We can give you a latest update from LCR on Joan Zarco. This was tweeted a few minutes ago. Joan Zarco is going to the General University Hospital of Catalunya for further examination to his left leg. Of course, the last update we had from Grassini on Alex Marquez is that he is conscious and off to hospital for further examinations.
Yeah, there is confirmation, and that information has just been released by the LCR Honda team. And all we can really say is our thoughts and speedy recovery to both Joan Zarco and to Alex Marquez. World champions, top talents, top riders, and as Fabio Di Gianantonio was quite right to point out there, yeah, we are professional racers. We earn our living at over 200 miles an hour, but ultimately, as well, we are humans. We feel emotion. They don't want to see scenes like they were involved in, involving Alex Marquez and Joan Zarco, but as they always do, when the visor comes down, race mode is on. They are the best in the business.
Bravo Digia.
Grazie per
Come stai?
Stavo meglio.
Ma che ti hai fatto male qui o qualcosa?
Più o meno. No, sta bene.
Brutta, quella caduta.
Spaventosa, cazzo. Io ho preso la ruota davanti, credo, con la forcella.
Sì, l'ho visto.
Oggi è stata una giornata. Oggi. Sì. Anche se facevo ultimo andava bene.
Yeah.
Se stiamo tutti bene, spero. Non so cosa ha fatto Alex, ma se stiamo tutti bene.
Penso sta bene. Qualcosina.
Mamma mia.
Mira.
Anche.
Io se li ho fatta all'uomo.
Oh, guidavi da paura, però,
Bene, dai.
Tio, guidi. Fai paura, cazzo.
Quello.
Bravo.
Complimenti. Grazie Dio, si prende il rischio.
No, però.
Te anche, la verità è che è pulito. Più
ma
pulito
tu invece entri che è un controllo incredibile, sei proprio bravo. Bravo Gian, complimenti.
Grazie Dio.
Oh,
Sí.
la puta.
Raúl ha entrado fuerte.
Hola.
Sí.
Joder.
Sí.
Vale, pues suerte, que no la ha pillado.
Sí.
Wow.
Qui la prima curva si arriva velocissimo, troppo.
Potremmo partire
È un
più
rischio, sì, è un rischio, sempre succede qualcosa.
Ma tutti
sempre.
gli anni, tutte le gare, tutti gli anni.
Qui si deve partire molto più davanti, sai?
Sì.
Arrivare in quarta,
Sì.
non bisogna arrivare a 300.
Che già quarta
sì,
è forte già.
Però non bisogna arrivare a 300,
sì,
sai?
è vero.
¿Cómo te has dado,
Yo
perché con
veía
l'aria è
Fermín
difficile.
Marcero y tal y digo, ay, vámonos.
Wow.
Cosa ha fatto Pedro alla fine?
Lo que íbamos de goma cocidos todos,
Sí, yo aquí me metió por dentro todo un trecho. Mira. Sigue. Wow. Sí que se la ha
non lo
llevado,
sapevo questo.
loco.
Sí, lo ha llevado, sí.
La Virgen.
Wow, puttana, questa non l'avevo vista. Vale.
Il cabo. Bene. Corta, eh?
Sí.
Meglio.
Sí, grande. Muy bien, señores. Muy bien.
So the top three have started to process what has been a pretty dramatic day here in Barcelona. Fabio De Gianantonio, as it stands right now as well, Dranmere will stand on the podium. How much longer his second place will stand? Just a reminder, he with Toprak Razgatlioglu, Ralph Fernandez, Alex Rins, Jack Miller and Pekka Bagnaia, all under investigation for a possible tyre pressure infringement. But let's look at the glass half full. The top three come to the podium.
Yeah, please don't ask us to try and work out what the new result will be. We'll let that get sorted out if indeed there are any changes later on. It's Pablo Nieto who will accept the prize on behalf of VR46 today. And Fermin Aldeguer, well, what are we talking? 4.5 months ago, he broke his femur. Now he would have expected to be on the podium in race 6 of the season. Whatever the circumstances, that's a heck of a result for Fermin Aldeguer. As it stands, it is second place for the 2020 World Champion. And there's no question, is there, that when he does stay upright, Dranmere is a serious contender on that factory Honda. If he is allowed to keep it, that would be his third podium in, the last 10 Grand Prix. But for Fabio Di Gianantonio, we fancied him after the way he ended the sprint yesterday, and we ended up getting a second sprint of sorts. And this time, it was Digia who emerged triumphant. An hour after he was taken to the floor by a wheel and front forks that had been ripped out of Alex Marquez's Gresini Ducati. Congratulations to VR46. I think the Dr. Stardust has been sprinkled on this Grand Prix for them. Fermin Aldeguer, well, we know he's on the podium, wherever it is, either third or second. And that is a fourth MotoGP podium for him. Just 21 years of age. Might well potentially be in the colours of VR46 next time he comes here. Dranmere, 16th as it stands MotoGP podium, and his third in Honda colours. As I said, they've all come in the last 10 Grand Prix, going back to Motogp last year. Opportunity presented by the drama up ahead. Certainly went and grabbed it. But today is Digia's day. A Catalan Grand Prix overshadowed by dramatic incidents which have left Alex Marquez and Joan Zarco injured, and our thoughts are with them. But our congratulations for the second time in MotoGP, well, they go to Fabio Di Gianantonio.
We have a very happy Fabio Di Gianantonio, and as you saw there on your screens, we have a very happy Valentino Rossi as well. Digia then with some rather muted celebrations. I'm sure this out of respect for the serious incidents we saw involving Alex Marquez and Joan Zarco in the early part of today's Grand Prix action here in Barcelona. But it is Fabio Di Gianantonio that wins a 12-lap Grand Prix of Catalunya. Joan Mir second over the line, 1.2 seconds behind, and Fermin Aldeguer putting behind all of his 2026 injury torment to score what would have felt like a highly unlikely podium coming into race day when he started the initial running back in 15th place. So Digia does it then here in Catalunya. And next up, what a boost. What an injection of some confidence. Not that they needed it, but guess where we're going next? We're going home for the Italians. We're going to yet another classic Grand Prix venue. They keep coming, don't they? Jerez, Le Mans, Barcelona, and next up, one of the best. We go to the Tuscany Mountains in Mugello, where Valentino Rossi will be looking for back-to-back wins as a team owner. Can Fabio Di Gianantonio make it back-to-back? We will find out in just a couple of weeks' time. So Digia, Mir, Aldeguer is your podium.